Hello, it is Robin here from Hooking Outside the Lines, and I'm doing another video in the studio with Robin about punch needles because I did one last week, and um, there's a lot of you that are traditional rug hookers and are kind of new to Oxford punch needles. So I thought I would give a little bit of a tutorial about sizes in terms of needles. Um, when we're doing traditional rug hooking, we have a hook. It could look like this, it could look like this. It could look like a lot of things. Um, anyway, you get the idea. It can be different shapes and sizes. However, the size itself does not indicate how your rug is going to look or how your individual loops are going to look. It doesn't, I can use a big hook and make little loops if I wanted to, or I can use a little tiny hook and make really big loops if I want to. Unlike traditional rug hooks, Oxford punch needles do come in different sizes and they come in different heights. So I'm going to explain to you the two main differences that you need to think about if you're like, I want to try punching, but I don't know what punch to buy. Or you're like, I have this punch and I want to punch that pattern. You want to make sure that the two kind of go together, or a kit, I should say, if it comes with yarn already, because the yarn and the needle need to kind of go together to make sure they fit. Again, very different from your traditional hooks. Um, it's not that hard once you have an understanding of it. And so the two first categories that I like to explain when I'm talking about Oxford punch needles. And I'm going to show you in my kit here. They're all kind of nicely placed at the moment. Rarely do they actually stay in this case for me. They are usually all over the place. You do not need all of them. You can do lots of beautiful rugs with just one punch needle. You just want to get the right sort of size that is associated with the type of work that you want to do or the type of yarn that you may already have that you want to use. So the main differences are these ones on my right here are the regular sizes, and these are the fines. So there are 3 different sizes of regulars and 5 fines. I'm going to show you the difference between the two. Pulling out my 2 number 8s, and I'll explain what that means in a second. The thickness, if you will, of this metal shaft on each of them is dictating what is a fine and what is a regular. So this is the regular, which is the one that Amy Oxford first invented, the creator of the Oxford punch needle. And then later she developed the fines to use a finer yarn. So that is the big difference between these two sizes. These are both number 8, so they will do the same height, of loop, but the thickness of the yarn or the wool strip that can go in them is very different. Obviously, a thicker yarn will fit nicely in the thicker one, and a thinner yarn will fit in the fines. The height of the shaft is what dictates how high the loop is going to be. So these are number 8. And if you sort of look on my very rough whiteboard here, imagine these are our loops. So, okay, so we're punching this way. If we were punching in this, this line here is our monk's cloth or our foundation fabric, and we're punching. So our number 8 loops is the highest shaft of all of the punch needles, and it creates a 1/2 inch loop. So that loop that is sticking out of the yarn is 1/2 an inch. Then we go to a number 9, which is just slightly, oh, these are out of order. Yep. So this, I'm going to go just hold my regulars here, my 3 regulars, and you can see if I line them up properly. 8, 9, and 10. The 10 is the smallest. So as our shaft height goes down, so does our loop height. So it goes from a 1/2 an inch to 3/8 of an inch to a 1/4 of an inch. So you can use the same type of yarn, the thicker yarn in all 3 of these, depending on the height of the loop you want to get will depend on the needle. My personal favorite is a number 10 regular when I'm using a regular, because a number 8, for example, that 1/2 inch loop, that is a pretty shaggy rug. If you want a really squishy rug under your feet, a number 9 will feel very luxurious. But for art pieces or just, things that are decorative, a number 10 is perfect. You don't need to use that extra wool that is going to be taken up in those longer loops. So a number 10, a 1/4 of an inch loop is perfect. Now, you see these other 2 little ones over here, these little baby loops are for in number 13 and 14. These only come in the fine needle. And I'm just going to compare. So this is a number 14 that I'm holding up. It is our smallest. Yes, it is 14. And just compared. Now, this is a regular size and this is the fine. So not the same yarn, but how you notice the difference between the height of them. So our number 14 is a 1/8 of an inch loop. It is a tiny little loop. It's adorable. It's lovely for, again, decorative projects. You want to get detail. The 13 is just a little teeny bit higher. Most of my projects when I'm using fine, especially like one level, I'm not trying to get different textures. A number 13 is my personal favorite. It has a beautiful coverage, I feel like. It's just a consistent, beautiful size. So when we're talking about fine and regular, what is the difference in the yarn? So I'm going to show you first in Violet Jane. This is the yarn that I sell, and that is sold by and created by the Oxford Company. They have it in two weights that are perfect for your fine needles and your regular needles. So the fine is called fine, very easy to remember. And the other one is called rug yarn because traditionally that's what it would have been called. And often, and this is one of my things I need to do another video on, but these are both 3-ply. So you can't go by the thickness of the plies because one is definitely finer. I'm just going to show you on there. And then this one is definitely thicker. Let's pull it out. So you can see it is pretty much double the thickness. So I shouldn't have used that finger. I'm sorry. One is fine and one is thicker. And again, fine needle, regular needle, fine yarn, rug yarn. You can also use other yarns. You just need to adjust your stitch spacing accordingly. And so I always suggest brand new to punching, use the yarn that is associated with these needles so that it is just easier for you to learn, get the feel for it, and then you can experiment. And then you can use all kinds of things that are behind me, and I'll show you in a second. I'm also going to show you for, especially those of us in Canada, this is readily accessible in a lot of places, Briggs and Little Yarn out of New Brunswick. They have very similar equivalencies in that Violet Jane has. So they're comparable to their rug yarn. They call it Super. It is a 4-ply. These are all 100% wool. And their heritage weight is my preference for the fine needles, but they do have a few others as well that are very comparable and could be used in the fine needles as well. So options for your beginning to punch, you need to know, do you have a regular needle or a fine needle? And what height of loops do you want to do? So I'm going to show you a sample I did quite a while ago. This is all punched, first of all. So yes, you can punch with your Oxford punch needles. This is a 8-cut, I believe. I have to go check my numbers. And then the fines are done with a fine needle. I love punching with the number 7, 8-cut, depending on the thickness of the wool in my regular punch needles. And it also works in the fine. Not my favorite, but I'm not a fine, I'm not a 3 or 4-cut gal too often. So that's just a personal preference. You can also use alternate fibers and acrylics and fleeces and shiny stuff. You just need to sometimes play. So these are all the alternate fibers down below that I have saved. And I'm just going to show you here. It is always a little bit harder to see. There we go, maybe. In a photograph, but these have different height differences. So these are my 3 regular needles. So my 8, 9, and 10. And if we look at them, if I sort of pull apart, these are my 1/2-inch loops, my number 8 and my number 9's a little bit smaller. And then my number 10's are much smaller. So that is what is different. Right beside it, I have the 8, 9, 10, 13, and 14. And again, you can kind of get a feel just looking at them, the lushness of the number 8 all the way down to the really low loops. And again, I can bend this so you can sort of get a feel. These are my little 14-inch loops, number 14 needle loops. And these are the number 13. So they're just a little bit higher. All of them cover nicely. Now I'm going to show you the back of these because, again, you need a more detailed class or time spent on this, but I just want to give you a little bit of a sneak peek. You can do reverse, like reverse hooking. This is reverse punching, but these are the backs. So when you're punching with a regular needle, you're going to be punching to cover the back, basically. And when you're using your fine needles, you're leaving space in between because you need your loops to bloom on the other side. If we put them too close together, you're going to be overpacking them, just like in traditional rug hooking. And with overpacking, you get you use too much wool, first of all, more than you need, and you get these bumps or bubbles or balls almost if it's in a circle on top. So this is a nice way. There's spacing recommendations. And that's why, too, you'll see some different spacing on here because this, again, is using the alternate fibers. And sometimes you have to play with gauge a little bit to get them just right. You can also sculpt with your Oxford punch needles. You can do all kinds of different things. And I will explain more of those in classes if you are interested. But I wanted to give people an idea of what it is like when we're talking about different sizes of punching. So things to remember: regular or fine, depending on the thickness of the yarn that you want to use. And the number represents 8 to 14 of the height of the loop that you like. So again, you don't need all of them. I have that luxury of having all of them. You could get one fine and one regular, and then you could do endless number of rugs. If you get into punching, then yes, it is fun to have all of these because then you can do textured pieces where different loops are different height in the same piece, and it can be really fun and endless possibilities. So I hope that helps give a little bit of an insight into what the needle sizes are all about and why there are more than one, but that you only need one to start. And again, if I were picking one for a beginner to buy, I always suggest number 10, regular. So you can do all kinds of stuff with a regular rug yarn. And if you were doing a fine, my personal preference, and many of my sample pieces, if you ever see me in person, is always a number 13 fine. And these two can go together really well. The height difference is so minimal. You could use these two in one piece and use your thicker yarn and your thinner yarn and make a variety of designs with these two, and it will look fabulous. So again, that's a personal preference. They're all great and all have their place. Thank you so much for watching. If you have questions, put them down below and I will do my best to reply to them. Thank you.